Bryce McGain is a commentator on ABC Grandstand and a former Australian Test cricketer and a friend of this program, and he's with us again in the studio. Bryce, good morning.
Good morning. What a sad occasion it is.
Certainly is. What was your first response upon hearing the news and also seeing that vision?
Well, I think like most cricketers, genuine shock, and really considering, you know, we've been out there in so many situations like that, facing fast bowling and probably thinking that, gee, you know, this is a bit intimidatory, but you sort of set it through your mind and go, well, I can't get seriously hurt here. I'm wearing a helmet. I've got all the padding and I'm okay. But probably goes to show there's just a fine line between such a tragic accident. And, you know, our thoughts, of course, are all with him, and there's plenty of support around Australia, and it's really touched everyone, I think, to put their support behind such a popular and favoured cricketer in Phil Hughes.
To put us at the crease, Bryce, we're talking about a ball which weighs about 160 grams, coming at you, depending on the speed of the bowler, 85 k's an hour, possibly more. As some commentators have observed this morning, it's more or less like a bullet coming straight at your head if you don't move away quickly.
It is, and just talking, and this is over the years, and a great advocate over the years has been Ian Chappell with helmets, and he said that the players today are probably more confident in taking on the short pitch bowling because they have this protection and they think they're bulletproof because of it. But it just goes to show that there is an element of risk there, of course, and you're right, the ball is going at 140, 150 kilometres an hour. I remember facing Brett Lee in a Shield final, and it was as quick as I've ever faced, and there were the moments where I thought, this could get serious, but you know, you always fight and back your ability, and that's what you're doing for the team. And Phil Hughes always did that for Australia and for his state as well.
It's not completely unusual to see someone get hit in the head and then the fielders come in and the bowler come in to see whether the batsman's okay. Usually they are. Have you ever seen anything like yesterday? Never
before. And the moment, and I guess for me, that really shook me was that moment where he just fell forward, and it's grainy vision that they have, but it was just where he was just completely helpless, and the players then some went into a state of panic, I suppose, but then some were straight into, you know, I guess caring mode and looked after him and until help arrived, and we saw vision there a little earlier of him getting CPR on the boundary line behind the sheet where...
The screen we just saw there.
Yeah.
That to me is one of the most shocking parts of this story, is that they were bundling him off the field and then they stopped at the boundary line, realising he wasn't breathing, and he was given mouth to mouth, and apparently that resuscitation went on for about 30-35 minutes. Now, can you imagine what it must have been like for those there and around witnessing that? Just must have been terrifying.
Well, his mother and sister were both there, and they've followed him around with his cricket all around the world, including to South Africa, where we both made our debut together, and we had a great connection from the youngest player in the team at 19 and the oldest being myself at the time. We got along great, and you know, it's just a real shock. It really is, and I'm sure that you know, it would have been a real upsetting moment for, you know, his mother and sister there.
And tell us a bit more about Phil Hughes. Some people watching this morning won't be rusted on cricket followers, but he's had some bad luck really with selection. He's shone brightly at some times, but then been seen to be this guy that can't quite get another chance in the national team.
Yeah, I think, and he's been up and down and in and out all the time. His record's incredible at Shield level. He's 25 years old. He's scored 26 centuries, which is quite remarkable. So he's always proven that he's been able to perform, even though he's ungainly and his batting style isn't technically aesthetic, I suppose. The selectors drop him, and then he keeps producing runs and doing really well, and I think that's why the Australian people love him so much, because he reminds them of probably their own techniques that isn't quite perfect and in our backyard cricket, and they love seeing that underdog and his fighting spirit. But all the way through that, he's just been so level-headed. He's always had a smile on his face with undoubted disappointment inside, but he's always just been a happy, cheery guy that just gets on with playing the game he loves, and that's a great hallmark of his.
We're all desperately hoping Phil pulls through this morning, but we can't ignore the world of pain Sean Abbott, the bowler involved here, is going through this morning, Bryce.
Yeah, very good point, and I understand he's going through some counselling, and of course the short pitch bowler isn't about this sort of you know, accident to occur. It's certainly just about maybe just changing the footwork of the batsman, putting him on the back foot so they can bowl up a bit fuller, and that would be the plan that Sean Abbott would be following. And they've been close mates all the way through. Phil Hughes started his cricket with New South Wales as a teenager, and Simon Kadich had him under his wing, and all these boys grew up together. They played underage cricket for New South Wales, and it's quite a shock for them all. And you could see he was the first one there. Yeah. He was holding him in his hands, and there's a lot of care shown. And
another man there, Bryce, was David Warner, and now there's going to be a test played in Brisbane next week. Warner's one of the most important players there. How on earth will the Australian cricketers begin to get ready for a test series now?
You can just imagine, and when these things hit us in life and work, we find it so difficult to go to work. But for Test cricketers and first-class cricketers, the whole life is publicly displayed, their performance and how they are. It's going to be a very tough effort. But the great thing about team is that they can all bond together, and no doubt there'll be a lot of support for them. And we hope that they can cope with that as well.
Bryce, thanks very much for coming in, and we all hope that Phillip Hughes does pull through this today. Thanks for your insight.